Hello! In this brief video, I'm going to describe the Norton Inquisitive Listening Guide quizzes. These quizzes are weighted as 15% of the total grade for Music 189. There are about 30 or so assigned throughout the semester. These listening guide quizzes are directly tied to the primary course material ebook, The Enjoyment of Music. Please make sure you go ahead and watch the introductory tour video to Music 189, as well as, if you click on modules, the course technical requirements video under the Getting Started module for more information on purchasing this textbook in Canvas. Once you watch these videos, you're ready to start learning about the listening guide quizzes, sometimes called LGs throughout the semester. To access the Norton Listening Guide quizzes, you need to go to a module, make sure you read the module instructions, and eventually you'll see that there are some listening guide quizzes due within the module. If you click on the step for the Inquisitive within the module, this will describe how to begin. So before you actually take the quizzes, you will need to listen to the pieces outside of the quizzes. So you'll want to visit the streaming playlists. So I have this linked within the modules as well as provided as a separate link in Canvas. If you click on module, we're going to go back and forth a little bit. But the playlist can always be found under course resources, which is under the course constants module. So if you're ever like, I need to find the streaming pieces outside of the quizzes, that can be found here. But I've also linked it under the step within a module to complete the listening guide quizzes. So once again, let's go ahead and click. In the first module, you have 3 listening guide quizzes you will need to complete on 3 different pieces of music. So you'll note that the first one is found in chapter 14 and it's LG2B. So if you click on streaming playlists, this takes you specifically to a playlist of all of the pieces in the book. But if you'll recall, I'll go back, you just need to know these 3 at this point in time for this first module, right? So you're going to want to find chapter 14, LG2, Hildegard. So chapter 14, there are 2 examples of chant here, but I just need to know the Hildegard one. So for every piece, there are these 3 rectangular boxes. You'll want to click on all of them in order to really get to know the piece in terms of musical elements, form, and then just a total listening experience. So the listen for rectangle takes you specifically to a tutorial describing what to listen for regarding a piece. So for this first piece, what is highlighted specifically in terms of musical elements is texture and rhythm, form, and the text or text setting. Now, you can also experience the piece in terms of a timeline, which is great for showing form. So this is the piece, the entire piece, and as it is played, we have these circles, which are going to denote specific formal sections in the work. So you can see there are 3, 1, 2, 3 primary sections in the piece. This will come into play as you're taking the quiz. And then if you just want to listen to it, it pops up at the bottom. So once again, listen for describes specific musical elements to listen for. Opening the ILG will give you a timeline for each specific work. So it's the entire piece and its form. And then this last rectangle is just the piece as a cold listen. So you'll want to do this for all 3 pieces that are required within a module, or if there are more pieces than 3, but this is just for module 1. Then if you click next, this will take you specifically to the very first quiz. So this is going to be the graded item. These parts are not graded, they're just to help you with the listening guide quiz. So if you click on the first quiz, this takes you to the Norton Inquisitive listening guide. Oh, this little thing's popping up as my face. That's kind of fun. All right, so I'm not going to answer all of these questions, but we can try the activity as a student. So you'll note as this very calming music happens that you must do several things in order to complete a quiz. First, you have to answer a given number of questions. This number will change depending on the quiz you're taking. So it will not always be 13, it may be 10, it may be 15, it depends on the piece. So please always read the instructions before you start. The Norton Inquisitive is really neat because you can wager points if you are more or less confident about a listening experience. But you want to get a certain number of points for each piece. So just like the number of questions, this number of points will change based on the quiz. And you will be graded on how many points you earn. You can continue to answer questions until you've reached the target score, even after you've reached the target score to earn a grade of 100%. So this is a low stakes quiz assignment where you can keep on answering questions in order to do better. And in fact, Inquisitive is adaptive so that if you begin to miss questions associated with certain musical elements, it will actually prompt you to answer more questions about those musical elements, but in different ways. So let's go ahead and try this just to show you how it works. So for all of these, there is some type of listening MP3, a listening example that you will play, and then you answer. But before you answer, please note that you can actually change the number of points you receive on the question depending on how confident you are. So if you listen to it and you're like, okay, I know this question really well, I'm going to earn 100 points, bam, and you answer the correct question. So I'm actually just going to answer this. How many singers do you hear at the opening? If you answer correctly, it says, great job, and it gives you a little feedback. And if you don't answer correctly, it actually tells you where in the book you can find the answer to help you out a little bit. You'll note that because I was very confident, I earned 100 points. Now, if I continue to do this, and I do this 10 times, of course, then you reach 1,000 points. But remember, you need to answer more than 10 questions for this specific inquisitive piece. You need to answer at least 13. So just because you've reached your activity score that's required doesn't mean that you've answered the number of questions. So just make sure you're answering the required number of questions as well as achieving the number of points that you need. And then of course you can keep on taking it to improve your grade to reach that 100%. Okay, one last thing. You'll see that under the Getting Started module, now that you've watched this video, I want you to take a little quiz just to make sure that I know that you know how to do the Inquisitive listening guide quizzes. So make sure that you take that quiz. If any questions arise, remember you have to purchase the ebook before you can even access these quizzes. And then before you try doing the quizzes, make sure you take this little quiz. How many times can I say quiz in one video? I bet you're wondering. This will get you all set up for the semester. But of course, if you have questions, email me, and I'll see you in the next video.